Very much, everybody, for joining us. This is Christopher again, second week in a row. Should be pretty quick. Not a lot of real major impacts to talk about. Best thing for everybody is that the tropics over our area would look to remain pretty quiet. So we'll go ahead and get started here with our first slide. Just some key messages. We do have elevated rain chances through the weekend and possibly into next week. It's going to be associated with a front that does try to drop into the area. It's just north of us right now. I'll be dropping in kind of tonight and likely going to kind of stall across the area. Typically be a little bit worried with locally heavy rainfall, but it looks like most of the rain is going to probably remain just south of us for some other reasons. So we'll have high rain chances, but any of the heavy rain probably going to stay right along the coast. As I do mention, do have those multiple fronts that kind of try to move into us. There's another one that looks like it'll be late this weekend, early next week, tries to push into the area. That has been the one that people have been talking about. If you've been following some of the information coming out, that maybe a first taste of fall. It's kind of up in the air how far south that fall like weather does get. Some of the latest inclinations suggest that may remain just off to our north. But we'll keep our fingers crossed to see if we can get a little bit stronger push, so at least some drier air to let us cool down overnight. And then the Atlantic does remain active, like I said. That, however, locally we do remain quiet through the next 7 days. So looking at the current radar right now, this is up to about 145, 150. That last radar image. You can see that we are getting some scattered storms right along the tidal lakes, some other activity just offshore, and there's some storms that are just north of the area. It's kind of more associated with that front. We'll see this activity continue to expand throughout the afternoon, early evening. A few of these storms could be strong. However, given the amount of cloud cover we've had across the earlier today, and then with the kind of clouds really building in now with these storms, we haven't got quite as unstable as we've been the last few days. So slightly lower chance of seeing anything severe. Can't completely rule it out. Probably a bigger concern would just be some gusty winds, frequent cloud-to-ground lightning, and brief locally heavy rain. As mentioned, the tropics. It is active. Hurricane Aaron has already started to turn to the northeast and will continue to the northeast across the western Atlantic, moving more towards the north central Atlantic over the next 5 days. There are 3 other areas that we are watching. However, none of those 3 areas at this time pose any threat to our area. The one system that's right behind Aaron is going to quickly move off to the northeast if it develops due to this trough that's going to sit up across the eastern U.S., which does try to bring us those fronts and maybe some fall weather. Looking at that system that's further out in the Atlantic, that would be the one that we may just kind of keep an eye on. But even if it does develop, we're still about 2 weeks away before it would impact us. So the next 7 days, we are quiet. The weekend forecast, as I mentioned, you can see Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that front drifts into the area tonight and tomorrow. Continues to get a little bit more of a push to the coast on Saturday. And then before it maybe starts to wash out, and then that next front is pushing into the lower Mississippi Valley on Sunday. That is the one that could bring us that taste of fall. Obviously, Southwest Mississippi, maybe the adjacent Louisiana parishes have the best chance of seeing any type of fall-like weather, and that is mainly, again, going to be in the form of like overnight lows where we can dry out a little bit more and kind of get those lows possibly drop into the 60s. That said, there's a good chance that these fronts will probably stall just north of us, keeping all that nice fall weather to our north, while we remain kind of warm and humid with the elevated rain chances. Good thing about this weekend, it won't rain all day, every day, and all night. Obviously, the storms are going to be more contained with the daytime heating each day. So we'll see more activity around midday throughout the afternoon to the early evening. Then things should die down some, becoming maybe more attached to the coast and in the Gulf overnight. And then again, over land areas during the day, with the heaviest rainfall likely remaining along and just south of that front. One good thing is that we should see just a cloud cover that keeps us from really getting too hot. The warmest areas, though, could be like Southwest Mississippi, which has the lower rain chances. So they may be able to get into that 92 to 93 degree range. However, everyone else looks like upper 80s to 90, 91. Next 7 days, as mentioned, we do have daily showers and thunderstorms in the forecast. However, most of the heavy rainfall should be kind of locked to the coast and just to the south. Looking overall like widespread 1/2 inch to 2 inches with that lower amounts against southwest Mississippi and right across the border adjacent to Louisiana parishes, with the higher amounts along coastal Louisiana, maybe coastal Mississippi the next few days before that front tries to get a little bit further south, pushing the deeper moisture down to the Gulf. Other than that, looking at this the next 7 days, I mean, obviously can't rule out any, 1 or 2 storms dropping a lot of rain in the short amount of time frame. That said, we just look to have that widespread 1/2 to 2 inches of rainfall. The temperature outlook, kind of late into next week and beyond that, as mentioned, that fall-like weather that you've been hearing discussed. Most of the U.S. is going to see it. We call this kind of longer wave trough that sits above the eastern U.S. It does protect us from a standpoint from tropical weather, as it keeps everything in the Atlantic and kind of curving off to the north. Does allow fronts to kind of push down to the area, depending on the strength is whether or not that front does get through us. Right now, as you can see with this, they're really not expecting those fronts to get much further south than pushing into the deep south, but you're talking like maybe into southern Mississippi and southern Alabama, kind of hold it up just north of the Gulf Coast, which then keeps the warmer, more humid air over southeast Louisiana, coastal Mississippi, with maybe some of that slightly dry air pushing into southern Mississippi, especially like southwest Mississippi area, and maybe across the border in Louisiana. So that's just the standpoint of, fingers crossed, maybe we can get some of that cooler air, dry air to drop south. The other thing is precipitation. Given the weak fronts, really it's kind of near normal to same percentage of above normal, below normal for rainfall right now. Obviously, if we get a much stronger front to push through, we get drier, and the rainfall potential would go down. If the fronts kind of drift right over us or stay north of us, will be near normal to slightly above normal with the rainfall potential. So just something to keep an eye on over the next 2 weeks. Real quick summary of impacts. You can see we again talk about scattered to numerous storms this afternoon into the early evening. A few strong storms, again, mainly frequent cloud around lightning, gusty winds, locally heavy rain. Do have high rain chances through the weekend as a weak front drifts towards the region tonight before it stalls near the coast for this weekend. Another front does kind of move into the area late Sunday, early Monday. That would be the one that may bring us some drier air. And other than that, tropics, let's keep our fingers crossed this remains the way throughout the season. They are active, but from a local standpoint, we look to be pretty quiet and no impacts are expected over the next 7 days.